Greetings, you're listening to the Cold Call Lawcast, the Minnesota Law School podcast featuring students from the University of Minnesota Law School, the University of St. Thomas School of Law, and the Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law. Welcome everybody to the Cold Call Lawcast. I'm Mitchell. I'm a law student at the University of St. Thomas Law School, and here with me are my co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm a Rising 2L at Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I am a Rising 2L at University of Minnesota Law School.
Thanks, guys. And just before we begin, make sure to follow us on social media at Cold Call Lawcast. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of that good stuff. So today we're
Tinder.
You cannot find me personally on Tinder. Hannah, you might be able to find on Tinder.
No, we're going to make a Tinder podcast.
We connect with other
Tinder.
podcasts for potential
Through Tinder?
collaborations.
Our podcast would like to date other podcasts, just casually. Just very casually.
Nothing serious?
No, nothing serious. Just to see what's out there.
Professional relationship.
Or maybe Christian Mingle. Yeah, no, scratch the Tinder. Find us on Christian Mingle. Anyway.
There you go.
Continue.
So later on in this podcast, we're going to be speaking to Lacy Schumacher, who's a city prosecutor and alumni of Mitchell-Hamlin. So I have a quandary actually at work. So my work is actually very supportive of me going back to law school going to law school part-time. And I think the only issue that I'm having is I got so everything's set up for me to go to law school, do it part-time, do some flex hours with my work schedule. But tomorrow I actually do a one-on-one with my boss's boss because she actually wants to talk to me about my future. And basically their argument is like, well, are you really serious about, working for, continuing to work in corporate finance given that you're going to law school? I guess my argument is going to be, I really didn't think it would be, I really thought of it more as complementary to my work and not really as something completely different, mostly because I think law school and becoming a lawyer really opens your mind up to thinking, thinking alternatively and being able to think in a different way and being able to use arguments to support your beliefs and your facts. And so I definitely don't think they're incongruent with business, which is what I'm in. I'm in corporate finance. So just wanted to see your guys' opinion on, what should I say tomorrow? Is that basically what I tell her? Is I don't think they're incongruent. I'm taking contracts and business associations class. There's M&A classes, a whole bunch of other courses that are focused on business because a lot of law deals with business. But what do you guys think?
Well, I for sure think that it's more of a complementary thing than diverging two different professions. They obviously can both go in a direction or another, but at the end of the day, I think you will just be adding more valuable insight to the company, and if you are true to wanting to stay there, I think you have a very valid argument saying that you will be bringing more to the table as opposed to less. I don't think it should hurt your chances of longevity of employment.
Right.
If anything, it should get you further up the ladder, so to speak, and open up new doors or opportunities within the company. I would absolutely say that. I would say I'm definitely much more of an asset.
You look her straight in the eye. And you say, screw the capitalist superstructure. You are a blight on society. I quit, and I'm taking my pension with me. That should work pretty well.
That's one possibility that I could do.
You could throw in a personal insult of something to, I don't know if you like your boss or not, but...
Yeah, she's great, yeah.
Okay, well then you should say, come with me. Out of this darkness. Out of this darkness we'll go, and we'll work from the outside to bring down this behemoth together.
So, Hannah, I think that's exactly what I expected from you, yeah.
I would follow my advice.
I think I'll follow Anthony's advice, though.
Well, that's super boring.
If Abby were
Sorry.
here, she would have a completely new opinion as well.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, she is not here tonight. But
Abby would be on my side. Abby would say, have a fun meeting. Don't have another boring meeting. No one's going to remember that meeting. How many meetings do you have in your life?
That's
yeah.
true.
And
You
your,
gotta make some of them
and your
memorable.
employment with a question mark instead of an exclamation point.
So I think
No,
given
with many exclamation points.
given this advice, I will probably turn to Anthony's first.
As a backup, you can definitely use
for a backup. Maybe I'll take on Hannah.
If she still says that, no, this
position.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
This doesn't
Yeah,
work
maybe.
out.
Just wait. I consider it, my personal goal to convert you at some point in your law career. And so, I mean, yeah, give her what you think right now. But we'll see. We'll see about that.
Thanks, Hannah. With that, we will turn it over to our interview with Lacy Schumacher. Welcome back to the Cold Call Lawcast. With us here today is Lacy Schumacher. She is a friend of mine who is a city prosecutor, and she went to law school at the Hamlin part of Mitchell Hamlin before they merged together. And so thank you, Lacy, for taking the time to come join us.
Thank you for having me.
And so kind of just give us a general overview of where you're from and what you do as a city prosecutor, and also talk about your time in law school as well, because I know people are going to be very interested in how you go from your undergrad to working to being a prosecutor, or to law school and then being a prosecutor. So let's go ahead and give us kind of the general overview of Lacy.
All right. Well, I'm originally from way northern Minnesota. I came down to the University of Minnesota in 2004 for my undergrad degree, which was in global studies and Italian of all things. I took 2 years off in between undergrad and law school, primarily because I graduated in 2008 when the economy kind of collapsed. I was working for 3 law firms at the time. One was an immigration law firm, one was a family law firm, and one was like a probate and insurance defense law firm. So all different kinds of types of law. I really wanted to get that experience to make sure that law school was something I wanted to do, because at the time that I went, it was obviously a huge financial investment compared to how all of us were doing at the time. And I started to apply for law schools while I was working there. I chose Hamlin for a bunch of different reasons. The main 2 being, one, I liked the people who gave me the tours, and I liked the atmosphere better than the other ones that I was accepted to. And the second reason, and what I think is probably most important to everyone going to law school, is money. They gave me the best scholarship. And so
That's always a plus.
it is what you should decide your life on. So I went to Hamlin, graduated in 2013. I did not want to be a prosecutor when I went to law school. I actually went in thinking I was going to become an immigration attorney. Having worked, so my global studies major, I took classes with the International Human Rights Law course at the U just prior to graduating, and found out about this law firm job through that, and worked really closely with the immigration law firm that I was working with out of those 3. Doing interviews for asylum applications, prepping people for marriage visa interviews, working with people on naturalization and that sort of thing. So that was kind of what I was aiming toward when I started law school. Then, while I was in law school, I took an immigration law class, which was taught by Julie Zimmer, who practices immigration law at Zimmer Law Firm. She's fantastic. She was a great teacher, loved the class. And as a result of taking that class, I ended up getting an internship with United States Citizenship and Immigration Services in Bloomington. So what I was doing at CIS was writing government-side briefs on marriage visa appeals. So this would be for situations where an immigrant family has applied for a marriage visa, they got denied at their interview, they appeal that to the immigration judge locally here, that gets denied. And then they appeal it to the Board of Immigration Appeals in Virginia. And by that time, the case file is huge. It's, 2 feet high. It has every ounce of information on that family's life, including home visits, background information on both the husband and wife, all the kids. And my job would be to say why the government believes their marriage was not a valid marriage under the current immigration laws. So, imagine this.
Yeah, was that
Cupid?
Imagine this. This is I'm a second-year law student at the time. At the time, I was not married myself, and I am the one in between you and your marriage visa saying no. This was kind of when I realized that immigration is. I knew immigration was a tough area of law. I didn't realize exactly how tough it is. A lot of other areas of law are self-policing where bad attorneys kind of fall out of the practice. Immigration law is not always like that because when you get a bad result in immigration law, obviously the result can be deportation. And when you're getting deported back to Mexico or Somalia or somewhere else, your first thought might not be filing an ethics complaint against your immigration lawyer or filing for ineffective assistance of counsel. So I don't think it polices the same way that other fields of law do.
Get them on Yelp.
Right. Like, you're not reading bad reviews on Google or whatever for your immigration attorney the same way you would for other
So is it just
types of law.
is it the defending immigration attorneys that are just really, really, I guess some of the ones that you saw that were really bad at what they do, or
Yeah,
is it kind of the entire system
Well,
was pretty horrible?
so both are worse. This is one of those situations where you ask which one is worse, and both are worse. There are very good immigration attorneys, and I know many of them. But the bad ones tend to be very bad. And so their briefs, for example, that I was reading, instead of citing to a provision of the law that applied to their client's case, what they would instead do is cite to a particular episode of Jerry Springer where the marriage on the Jerry Springer episode was more unbelievable than what their client's current situation was. Which I don't think is maybe the best avenue to show that your client's marriage is valid under the law.
Yeah, it's not a legal argument at all.
Right.
Or is it? Do we have Springer law now?
Unfortunately, no. I think some of that could be
Did they lose that
some
case?
good law. Yes, they did lose that case. And, I mean,
So where do these attorneys come from? I mean, are they getting their JDs at Trump University, or what? Or what's happening?
I don't actually know that in that particular case. I don't actually know where that attorney came from. But like I said, it's just an area of law where it's hard to kind of clear the field of the bad attorneys who are practicing their cases like that. And I've actually since come up against an attorney from that same firm in criminal law on a case that was tangentially related to immigration. And it is the same thing that they're doing in criminal law as they were in immigration. So sometimes that practice just comes up through those firms. That is a long story that leads to me not deciding to be an immigration attorney. That's what that long story is about. What happened instead was I wrote an article for the Hamlin Journal of Public Law and Policy about, they told me when I got onto Journal, write about something you're interested in. And like every law student, what I was interested in is Minnesota's alcohol licensing law. So this was around 2010, 2011 when the Surly Taproom Bill was passing into law. So I wrote an article on what the plan was for that law, where that came from, where the inspiration for that came from California, Colorado, other states with different licensing patterns, and then what those other states moved to subsequent to getting tap rooms, other ways that Minnesota could modernize its alcohol licensing laws to make it easier for smaller businesses like craft brewers and distilleries to kind of grow up here. What happened as a result of that was I got to know a lot of the people in the industry who were starting to open tap rooms and distilleries at the time. And then other people who were working with advocacy groups to change the legislation